Well, it's great to be here with you again today. Sounds like that mic is really loud today. Or maybe I'm not used to it ever being on. I guess the first of the signing period of the 2018 class. Had some great times in the meeting room today, just talking with family and parents, and obviously the student athlete. Really excited about the class we have coming in. I think everybody gets excited, when they come in. There's still a ton of work to do. I always, talk. It's a process. This is just the first step to the process of getting me here. Now there's a lot of learning for them to go through. Some guys will be rated here, and I don't know where all the stars are. Chris does all those things. We just look for players on tape, but there's a lot of development that still needs to go into these individuals. And again, as you guys know, there's high expectations at the University of Pittsburgh for where we want to go, and these guys are a big part of it. So we're excited to have them in today. Let me give you just some quick facts about the class so far. We've got 15 signees, as you probably saw on your sheet, and I don't want to bore you with some of the things that are on there. You guys can read it and type it and do those things. But we expect maybe to get one more later this afternoon, so there might, stay by your phones. Don't have a holiday drink. And by the way, happy holidays to everybody in here. Usually don't get to do this this early. But 15 signees, and again, we hope, if we're lucky enough, fortunate enough to get another one. Of those 15 signees, I think it's always interesting that 14 of them were captains, okay? 14 captains, which gives you a little bit of leadership and, different level leadership. We got to step it up to the next level, but different leaders there. 6 on offense, 9 on defense as far as what we got. And again, some of those guys are, multiple athletes that could go both sides of the ball. As you know, we'll play them on both sides of the ball. We'll coach them on both sides of the ball. 14 of the 15 are from the East Coast, from the ACC or Atlantic Coast area. We got one from the California area in Ricky Town. 2 junior college prospects, as well as, one transfer, I guess. We got 3 mid-year players that'll be here in January, be moving in their dorms. If you guys are interested in hanging out by the dorms someday. But they'll be moving in January for classes. A quarterback obviously was a huge need, and one that we worked hard at getting, and 2 offensive linemen, which will get some great development there. We've got guys from 8 different states in this class. We first, as you guys know, try to hit our backyard and try to get whatever we can get out of the Pennsylvania area, Pittsburgh area. Get into Ohio, New Jersey, Maryland, D.C. area. But as it goes, we got 6 kids from Pennsylvania, 5 from the WPIAL, Western Pennsylvania area, 2 Maryland kids from the same high school, DeMatha, great high school down in Maryland. If there's a place to get them, that's where you want to go. 2 from Florida. And again, we may get some more from down there as January moves on. We got 1 from New Jersey, and Nick Patty. We got an Ohio player, Tyler Bentley. 1 from Virginia, Wendell Davis. Cameron O'Neill from Alabama, and then one of the final ones there, Ricky Town, we were able to land. As far as just our needs, I think, as news people, you're always looking at, what do they need? And we're also kind of like the NFL. We're going to take the best available out there. As time goes on, you start to look, okay, what's available? Do we get our needs? What do we actually need? But we end up getting, where it starts, 7 power guys. It starts up front, so, of that 15, 7 of them are the big dudes that'll create power up front. It starts up there with the O-line and the D-line. We got 2 big skill guys. I think, when you look at our backfield, you look at the guys that have been running the football. You look at, our linebackers. We got a lot of guys that you haven't seen on tape yet. We felt pretty good there, so we didn't think we had a huge need for the big skill guys, unless it was the best available. And then we ended up getting really 6 skill guys that, receiver, DB, quarterback type guys that are important. Just to talk briefly, about the class itself. December 1st or December signing here, the first time that we've had to do it at that time, and it's always a learning curve with it. But overall, as a head coach, you look at, the first time. Well, how come every time I put my hand up, you guys take pictures? I just go like this? Just kidding. I hear a lot of clicking going on, but I'm going to keep my hands still now. But first time going through this December period, it's always interesting. I think there's good things and bad things about it. For our coaching staff to be able to relax during the holidays and know that, that we're pretty much through. I mean, there'll be still some work to do. We're still going to go out there. You know, there's always change going on, and you know, we'll find out who's unsigned. We still have a couple needs, you know, some leftover scholarships that we'll be looking to fill, and so we'll continue there. But I'm sure you guys will have, you know, questions about the December signing. You know, one of the biggest things you see when you go through this early signing is where do you go? There's still some homes that I have not been in yet. I think that's one of the negatives. We try to pick and choose where I needed to go. You know, there's a strategy to where you go. But, you know, whether it's a hometown kid or going down to Florida or Georgia, wherever it may be, we try to strategically plan where we go and how we do that. But I think that's a hard thing when you don't have the entire month. You know, never have I gotten to a sign day where I wasn't in the kid's house. So you had to feel pretty good about who that guy was. And we did. And there'll be some longer home visits in January with those guys, really to make up for it. And, you know, we've had those conversations as we went through. I think the quality of student athlete that we've got coming in is maybe it's fine classes we brought in, just academically, you know, speaking, you know, just the social, the families. I can't say enough about the families in the homes we've been in, the kids that have been on campus. You know, we got a great group of kids and support around them. So I think we're good. We're really good as far as that goes. You know, I want to say thank you to, you know, a bunch of people, and there'll be a lot of people I'll forget, but it starts off just with all the high school coaches out there that helped us with this signing class, all the administrators, all the principals that we walked in and bugged them, and you ring that bell at all the high schools and they let you in, and, you know, coach, where are you from? Can you sign in here? Can I get you a badge? All those people that have to put up with us coming to those schools. I thank all of them to start off with. You know, I thank our class, the kids that you know, trusted in what we're doing, had the faith in who we are as people, and, you know, it comes down to relationships and recruiting, and we talk a lot about that. And the guys that signed with us, you know, value relationships, and maybe some of the ones that don't value those as much. So we're okay with that. But I want to thank those, you know, our coaching staff and all their families with all the sacrifices they give up to sign these guys, to be in their homes, to be away from their families so long. To Heather Like and Christian Spirits and our entire athletic department, you know, never have I been involved where they were so involved in our recruiting process. Usually we're on our little island. We're bringing them in, and every once in a while, hey, can you maybe talk to a kid here? But, you know, from, you know, every day these guys were there. I mean, Heather, you know, spearheaded. She started the weekend off on a Friday, just talking to the parents about, you know, about college life and what she expects, you know, from these players and their families as the process goes on. So I thank, you know, Heather for that, and Christian came on Saturday and did a great job, and Penny and all our academic staff. I mean, Mike and Tanea and Keith and John all do a great job. All our, you know, probably the key to the whole thing is our current players, all our hosts. You know, every weekend those guys will, you know, on a Friday and Saturday night, sacrifice their time to get around these kids, and I think they enjoy it, to be honest with you, because they're you know, really trying to find out who they are. We investigate our hosts to find out, hey, what'd you think of this guy? Does he fit in? Do you like him? And I think those are all important things. But you know, I thank those guys for taking the time to do that, because I know they have a busy schedule. And then the last guy really to thank is Mark Harding. You know, up in admissions, he does a great job with our kids when we bring them in, and he's done that for 2 years. He does an incredible job with them. So with that, I'm just going to quickly, and I know you guys got questions, hit some of our guys here alphabetically. The first one is Tyler Bentley from Lakota West High School in Westchester, Ohio, right outside of Cincinnati. You know, we've wanted this guy for a long time. You know, we really called him all year. He was, you know, committed to another institution, and we stayed on him to our benefit. We thought he was a big, athletic guy that would help us on the D-line, and you know, we just stayed persistent. Could never get him on campus all summer. Couldn't get him to camp. Couldn't get him here. Finally got him here for official visit. We're happy to have Tyler with us. Chase Brown, a very athletic offensive tackle, mature. You know, he had some maturity. He'll be here mid-year with us. But he's a big athletic guy that is going to come in and have a chance to compete, you know, immediately, mainly because he's coming in mid-year. Valik Carter from Oxbridge Academy in West Palm Beach, Florida. Again, a guy that was committed to another institution, athletic again. I could probably say that about every one of these. We wouldn't recruit him, but a playmaker, a guy that, you know, a funny story about him is, you know, it was probably hard to get him up here in And again, I don't give our coaches enough credit for what they do. But I know Coach Partridge was heavy on this guy. But, you know, I don't know if we would have got him up here. I think he had reservations on the plane coming up on the trip. Like, what am I doing? But I think the Fort Pitt Tunnel, when he came through the Fort Pitt Tunnel, and bang, Pittsburgh hit him. I think that's really what sold him. So Valik from Oxbridge Academy, we're happy to have him. Devin Danielson, Thomas Jefferson, Pittsburgh guy. You know, Coach Bill Chirpek obviously coached him, so we know we got a former Pitt man that's developed him. One of the best coaches in the area. But Devin's a guy that have not been in his home yet. Looking forward to getting in there in January. He came to camp. He had a dominant senior year. He's physical. He's tough. He's everything you want in a defensive lineman. Wendell Davis, linebacker from Benedictine College in Virginia. He's probably one of the quietest guys in our class. He will walk through the door and you'll see one part of it. And then when he gets on the field, the guy's like the Hulk. So he really turns it loose. But Wendell's a middle linebacker probably for us. I think he can play the money, and we're looking forward to having him on campus here soon. Next one, David Green. Pittsburgh Central Catholic, West Mifflin. I think he's right out our back door here. Obviously, Terry Totten is his coach, and we're happy to have another Central Catholic football player in our program. And this kid's a hard worker. I don't care if it's on the field, off the field. If you want to see all the Christmas tree decorations over at Kennywood, he's over there probably working right now. He probably signed the papers and went to work. So he's one of those blue-collar Pittsburgh kids that is a worker. And again, on the field, off the field, we appreciate having him. Jake Cradle, again, a mid-year signee that was in camp. And when I look back at our camps, Devin Danielson was in camp, Wendell Davis was in camp, David Green we had in camp, and Jake Cradle was in camp. So we certainly have some guys that we've seen physically do it on our fields out back. But Jake is, again, a mid-year guy that is a tough physical guy, can run. He's a guy that's loved Pittsburgh from the beginning. We appreciate his loyalty to us. Next guy, John Morgan, DeMatha Catholic High School in Upper Marlboro, Maryland is where he's from. Again, as I said earlier, just one of the best high schools in the state of Maryland. Recruited a couple guys out of there in the past. John Morgan not only came to one camp, but he came to two. He came back for more, and he looked better the second camp than he did the first camp. And we offered him off of his first camp, and he said, "Coach, I want to come back for more." So that tells you, where he is and what he's all about. So we're looking forward to having John here. Cameron O'Neill is a guy we did not have in camp from Glenwood School in Alabama. He was a guy that came during the summer with mom and dad. Great people. That's kind of what sold us on him. We watched his junior tape and loved it. We saw his senior tape, loved it more, and he'll add to our receiver room as an athlete. Noah Palmer, again, another guy from Thomas Jefferson. So we pulled two from Coach Chirpek, and Jefferson Hill, PA kid. Again, another guy that came to camp, put on a show for us, and again, is a Pitt man. Even though he hadn't graduated yet, he's a Pittsburgh guy, and we're glad to have him. Next guy, another DeMatha Catholic, Upper Marlboro, Maryland kid, Judson Talander. Again, a big, long athlete, probably one of our taller corners. Could be a free safety, play anywhere in the secondary, probably. He's athletic. We'd had him in camp, saw how well he tested and ran, and we're happy to have Judson here. The next guy, mid-year guy, late notice. Matter of fact, we brought him in the dark. No one knew he was coming, I don't think. Chris, did you know? Okay, we brought him in the dark. Nobody knew. He was a surprise visit. We worked hard to get him here on campus. He actually left another visit to come on our visit, which I give him a lot of credit because that's not easy to do as any kid. We didn't want him to do that, but with the late notice that we had with a spot at the quarterback, it became almost a critical situation. And I don't think we could have came through this thing any better than we did with Ricky. Haven't been out to his house yet out in California, but we'll get there in January. But he's a guy that fits into our system, almost speaks the same terms right now, and we're looking forward to seeing him in early January. The next guy, again, Marquez Williams, DB from Cardinal Gibbons High School down in Pompano Beach, Florida. A guy, one of the two visitors during the season, and we're not, we love this kid. That's why we let him come in during the season. But we're not big into bringing guys on campus during the season. And again, there's several reasons, but one of the main ones is the focus is not recruiting. I know I don't do a good job of focusing on them, because our focus is usually the guys that are sitting in this room in here. But we got a game to play, and our focus is locked into that. And during the season, I don't really care. But this young man had to, based on his playing schedule, his calendar, they expected to get into the playoffs and go a long way there. So we visited him during the season, and I didn't get to know him as much as I wanted to during the visit. But he's a heck of a player. He's a heck of a person. I know our coaches have been in his home, and I'm going to spend a lot of time with him in our visit in January. And then the last one, probably our best recruiter, so I'll save last for the best for last year. Blake Zabovic, big old lineman from Bell Vernon, PA, Bell Vernon High School. Just a powerful, explosive guy that had a little ankle injury during his senior year that slowed him down just a little bit. Then he came back hard and strong. But a great football player, and again, probably a guy that kept everything together with our recruiting class. When we're coaching ball, he's on the outside recruiting, so he's got a great personality and does a great job. And I said last, but I missed one, didn't I? Because I knew I did. I'll probably say that maybe the next best. When you talk leaders, probably one of our best leaders. He's already shown a ton of leadership through the recruiting process. Some of the messages and telephone calls I've had with this young man have been incredible. But a quarterback from St. Joe's Regional in Westwood, New Jersey, Nick Patty, is a tremendous football player. Reminds me a lot of a Kirk Cousins type guy. I mean, he's going to be a special player for us. And again, he's a true leader. And will be a future captain here without any question. I don't have any doubt about it. So that's kind of what I got. I'll open it up for questions. I'm sure you got a few.
Questions, please.
Ricky Town will be here in January.
Yes, he will be.
I think you said two big skill guys. I mean, I would say like Wendell Davis would be one. Who would be the other one? Like Palmer or?
Probably I'd say big skill. Probably I counted him in there with John Morgan, just being an athletic guy. I mean, I think he could be a stand-up linebacker, rush off the edge. I think John's the other one I counted in that big skill. He's going to be an elite rusher off the edge. I think he's going to be a force. Just really having him for 2 camps, and some guys you see more than others. We were able to evaluate that guy, and I think he came back and learned some things on an unofficial visit. And then I think he came back and worked with Coach Partridge for another camp, and then he took some of those things. He went home, he learned, he came back again, and he came back even better. It's like this guy is like a sponge. Picking up knowledge, so I think he's a guy that can maybe put some pressure on quarterbacks in this conference.
First time for this new process, first time for you guys, first time for recruits and stuff. I mean, were there any surprises to you? I mean, whether it was leading up to it or even today?
No real surprise. I think there's a lot of pressure on these kids, and these are hard decisions. Even for guys it was easy. I think talked to one said my mom was sweating this morning. It's not easy. You feel like you're signing a scholarship, but you feel like you're signing your son away when when a parent puts his signature down there, and you better be signing them to the right people. And his mom was obviously really happy, but it's like a big thing. And I think there's just not as much time for these young men to grow up and really think about it. And there's I would say, and again you guys will figure it out, but I'd say 85 to 90% of the kids probably signed today. I think next year it's going to be 100%. I think it'll just be the new signing. Unfortunately, I can't say it's a great thing. For me, I like it because we've kind of could close the books on 15 guys, or maybe hopefully another one tonight or something. I think it's good for that. But there's a lot of pressure for these kids to make decisions, and we're not one to ever pressure. When a kid walks in our door, it's why we don't have many decommitments through really 10, 12 years of coaching and recruiting. Kids don't decommit because you don't pressure them, and there's always going to be that guy that it's like, Coach, I think I want to come to Pitt. Well, think's not good enough. I don't want a guy that thinks. I want a guy that knows, that's going to blow through those doors if he's got to knock the hinges off that door to get here and do it. And if you think, I'm not a guy saying, hey, listen, you have to, you take your time. We got another signing period down the road. And to be honest with you, the first Wednesday in February has always been a date that is not a 3-day window. Okay, it's been a date that really goes till the end of March, really. So there's a month and a half that you can continue to think about it and go with it. So sometimes I think we push these kids, we push them on the field at a young age, and we push them right through their life, push them through college, graduate early, go to the NFL, or go do this. Slow down. These are some of the best days of your life.
Intrigued you about Ricky during the recruiting process, and did he come on your radar before Ben and Thomas transferred or after?
He was on our radar because I think, all good recruiting staffs and coaches kind of have it out there, but we really didn't think we were going to lose two. We thought it was going to be one quarterback. Had discussions with both of them. Both of them I understand what they had to do, and we want the best for those guys because they're great kids and great people, but we kind of didn't think probably until Thursday, of that last weekend for recruiting that we were going to have a true need for a mid-year, at that point the wheels started to turn. But we had a list. But you never investigate the list because you're worried about the other list because you got a lot of lists. But we just, Coach Watson did a heck of a job, and Mike Parrish, our offensive GA that works with the quarterbacks, did a heck of a job with our recruiting staff of just developing them, pulling them out, and making a ton of phone calls to investigate. We can watch the videotape, we can pull it up there and watch the videotape, but then it's all the other things that you're looking for. That have to fit to make that room, that quarterback room right. And he fit in, period. I think he'll walk in there and those guys are just going to be like, this is another one of our guys. He's been here for a while. It was a perfect fit. It didn't take long to figure it out. I'm glad it didn't take long because we didn't have long. I think we brought him in late Saturday night, spent all day Sunday with him, or most of the morning with him, and interviewed him, really brought him in without an offer. It didn't take long for us to, over a fathead's cheeseburger to figure it out.
What's your last game you played, your freshman quarterback looked like he, sort of sees an opportunity. How do you then approach it with a guy who's got 2 years to play? For lack of a better term, what's the sales pitch, I guess, when you're talking to Ricky?
Well, I think, with anything, I think what makes your football team great is competition, okay? And if anybody's afraid of competition, then we got problems. If you're always looking like, who's that guy behind me? Oh, no. Kenny's a competitor. I think Ricky's a competitor. I think Nick Patty's a competitor. We got guys that want to compete. And what you want at that quarterback spot is guys that want to compete. If you're just going to stay the same and you want to be a backup, that's great. But I want a guy that wants to push Kenny. Kenny's our starting quarterback right now, and Ricky's coming in to challenge for it, make him better, and it's going to make everybody in this room a better person, a better coach, a better team. And he's a competitor, and we're excited to get him here.
And what about the kids who verbally performed today and didn't sign with anybody? What happens to them? What's your thought process on those guys?
You know what? It's going to be reevaluated. There's obviously some guys that were committed out there to schools all over the country. I don't know how many, but my thing is, I don't want to put a pressure on anybody to say we're not going to take you if you don't sign. It's got to be the right fit, and it's got to be for the right reason. But you can't blame somebody for getting cold feet because it's not easy. And these kids, it's not just them, okay? But they got parents in their ears, they got coaches, they got trainers, they got they got everybody. They got the nurse. Who knows who's in the ear? The principal, assistant principal. There's all kinds of kids talking to these players and changing their minds, shopping them around, whatever it may be, and things like that happen. But you know what? I'd rather it happen now than after signing day or in the first week of doubles. To me, it's better right where it is, and to me, it's a beautiful thing.
You talk about relationships. Do you feel like over the last week, did you have a pretty good idea of where all of your guys stood coming in today?
Coming in today, there was not one surprise. We've got great communication from every coach on our staff to me with our kids. Didn't have any surprises today. I won't be surprised tonight. I feel pretty good, and we knew who we had. Like I said, I didn't sit here and sweat driving in this morning going, God, I wonder if he's going to sign. I felt pretty confident that the guys that we thought were gonna. And obviously I encourage guys that if you're not sure, don't.
And you talked about the pressure on the kids. What's been the pressure of on your staff, and not just these guys, but everybody over there that does things like check kids' grades and due diligence on character evaluation, things like that, to get this done in not just to get a compressed time period, but some of these kids still aren't done with their semester of school right now.
Yeah, great question. That's the fear in this whole thing being sped up, and I'll give you a little information. It's kind of scary out there. Right now I think the December 20th, this doesn't change. It's just moved it up, and if kids are ready to decide, they decide. If they're not ready to decide, they can decide in February, but it's the future, what's going to happen in the future. You know, they're talking about April, May, and June official visits. That scares me. You know, from what you hear on the road, they're talking about now contact by our coaches in the high schools in the spring recruiting process. That scares me. Number one, I don't really, you know, I don't think our compliance guy, it's something we're not used to, going into high schools and talking to kids. But there'll be long lines outside the door. Our recruiting pool back in May will be this big. And then when we're contacting them in December and January, it's this small. I mean, you're hitting the spot you need to hit and you're done. You're not talking. I mean, we could go to DeMatha High School and talk to 15 guys next May. That's not good. I mean, there'll be lines, you know, so my fear is, number one, the kids aren't going to be in class. Okay? I think they're in high school in their junior year to get an education for an entire month. I mean, you know, I told some coaches, you might as well get maybe 10 classrooms added onto your school just so we can, you know, line up your kids, put them in there. We'll just go in one door and out the other. We'll just keep going down the line. That's some of the fear. But, you know, some kids have this feeling they're gonna take their 5 visits, okay? They're gonna take the 5 visits in the summer. I'm gonna commit to my school, and then I'm going to bypass my senior year of high school and just get ready for my first year in college. Now, how scary is that? If I'm a high school coach, think about it. That's where it's going. And we all have guys leaving early and guys not playing in bowl games. Now we're going to have high school players. That's what scares me. Right now, this is easy, but it's when our whole calendar changes. That's when it's going to get real stressful. Is if it does change, and I think the AFCA is working on it. I think coaches don't want that to change, but that's kind of where it's headed, which is not a good thing.
Uncertainty about maybe where guys are going to stand academic-wise make you less likely to take a risk on somebody?
No question about it. I mean, you got to know the high school. When you look down this list, there's some pretty solid high schools on here. I mean, a lot of private schools that we're getting kids from, so you trust the education they're getting. If he's a shaky early student, if he's been shaky, which a lot of kids are, is that transition from 8th grade to 9th and 10th. Some of them have family issues and reasons for some of those grades and how they grew up. But yeah, it scares the heck out of you because you don't have, we'll be visiting kids that don't have a junior year, 3 years of education under their belt, and that's, we're making decisions that are bad decisions. So that's all part of it. Whether it's, and now we're taking them out of class in the middle of it. So those are all issues that, especially at an academic institution like the University of Pittsburgh, we just don't get everybody in here, and that's an issue.
And you talked about how the quarterback transfers kind of changed how you guys had to approach that position and bring in Ricky. But what about the NFL decisions by your guys? Did any of those catch you off guard or change what you were doing?
Nothing catches you off guard. I mean, you're prepared. You see how they play. But we support all those guys. I mean, it's a dream for a lot of these guys. They see the dream right next door. They watch the success those guys have, and it doesn't surprise me. It's just there's more and more of it happening, I think, and 3 great kids that we enjoyed the coaching, but they have that aspiration to play at the next level, and it's up here. It's the NFL, and they're going to have their opportunities. There's always there's conversation with all of them as far as what you're doing, how you're doing it. Brian O'Neill did the most homework. That guy was detailed, and I think he's got a notebook this thick with notes he took, and so you want to make sure they go through the process the right way and make a decision for the right reason.
You get your 16 in this class. How many more might you sign in February?
I don't know. I lost count. I mean, I'm going to go back and look and try to do my math, pull my pencil out, Jerry. But I really don't know. We're going to go back and look, and we kind of, it's a day-by-day deal. You look and see what you have, and who's happy, who's not, and there's always movement on your team, and people want to play, and I think that makes you better when if guys are afraid to compete, they want to move on like we had, that you add to it. But we'll continue to evaluate, and it's a work in progress, really.
Two corners in this class, Carter and Williams, listed at 5'9" and 5'8". You guys tended to sign guys a little bit taller. What stands out about these two?
I think the vertical jump, Chris, number one. I mean, if you look at Marquez, I mean his arms. I mean, I think he can put his arms. He got some long arms, so he plays like a 6'2". I mean, you look at their reach and all that. All of them really have those different qualities. I mean, toughness and. It's not all about the height. I know, you look at it, you watch, there's a lot of guys, 5'9", 5'10", playing in the NFL, playing against bigger receivers. There's very few guys that are, 6'2" that can run like you want them to run. So, we got a little bit of every. We got big corners, we got small corners. We look and see what we need, what we want, but you better be able to run. Okay, we can have 6'3" corners if they can't run with them. The height doesn't matter.
There were 2 receivers you had strong interest in that went in different directions today and yesterday, and you got one more coming at 5:30. Given the fact that you lost Jester and Audrey as receiver, one of your top areas of importance.
No question about it. I mean, when you look at needs, we wanted to get some guys, and really get some guys in at mid-year. So, I mean, you'd like to have one here now. And we don't have that right now, but we'll get them in. Coach Sherman will do a great job with them. We've got a lot of young players that can play. I mean, there's some young guys we haven't seen that we haven't played yet, but it was certainly a need that we wanted to address. And we got some players. I mean, Trey Tipton's coming back, so don't forget about some of those other guys. But we'll be fine. But anytime you lose 2, you want to at least bring in 2, maybe 3.
Maybe a question or two, final question or two for coaching. And we do have our assistant coaching staff here who will come down for one-on-ones. Chris, you have a final question for coaching. We'll take one more.
I was curious, do you run into rivalries on the recruiting trail? There's other schools you tend to recruit against a lot, or run into, or they get some of yours, you get some of theirs, that kind of thing?
No, not really. Some days, it's funny how things happen. Sometimes you end up one year getting in a battle with these certain schools from this certain conference, but every year it seems to be a little bit different. Every year I think you get into different battles, and for whatever reason.
Hey, you have I think 7 linemen, 5 of the local kids. Maybe it's not I guess sexy as a big time skill position player, but I guess can you talk about the importance of that foundation and what having a lot of those guys, or Whitfield kids in here in the trenches for you can do?
Well, the first thing is those local linemen, we know they can go home and get that home cooked meal. So, even though our chef Kevin here is awesome, Mr. Blinn, but we don't care where we get them from. Those guys were picked, not because they're from Western Pennsylvania. They were picked, and they had a lot of people coming after them. All these kids had, a lot of teams going after them that wanted them all over the place. But those guys were chosen because they were the best. They just happened to be in Western Pennsylvania, and we're excited to have them.